They say that mammals are the most familiar faces in the wild. Animals we understand best because, well, we are one of them after all. Found all over the world, on land, in the ocean, and even up in the air, mammals are everywhere, in all shapes and sizes. Hey everyone, welcome back to Topisphere, and today we're continuing with our animal series, this time with mammals. Also, here's the new set for the Christmas season. Shout out to my girlfriend for drawing it and hope you all like it. With that, let's continue. Before we can dive into any specific mammal, we gotta first answer the question of what exactly is a mammal. Well, generally speaking, it is a warm-blooded vertebrate animal of a class distinguished by the possession of hair or fur, with females that secrete milk for the nourishment of the young, and typically the birth of live young. This definition covers almost all mammals and is a pretty good generalization, but just like our other friends, the reptiles and the birds, this definition covers most mammals, but not all, because as with everything else in life, there are always exceptions. But before we get into the outliers, let's begin with a normal mammal, something that almost perfectly fits the mammal description: bears. Bears are large mammals which fit the mammal mold almost perfectly. Although there are only 8 species of bears, they are widespread and appear in a variety of habitats throughout most of the northern hemisphere and partially in the southern hemisphere, with them being found in both North and South America, as well as Eurasia. Bears are easily characterized by their large bodies with powerful limbs, short tails, rounded ears, and to top it all off, a shaggy coat of fur. Despite this large build though, bears are actually incredibly adept runners, climbers, and swimmers. In terms of diet, while polar bears are mostly carnivorous and pandas are mostly herbivores, the remaining 6 species of bears are omnivores with varying diets, which can include berries, nuts, fruits, fish, and other smaller mammals. Moving on to their reproduction, the gestation period of bears typically lasts between 6 to 9 months before giving birth to live young, with their litter size having around 4 cups at a time. Northern bear species like the American black bear and grizzly bear usually give birth during winter dormancy, aka hibernation, which we will talk about in a bit. On another note, the milk of the female bear is rich in fat and antibodies which cubs suckle onto for up to a year after they are born. Now then, we can't talk about bears without talking about hibernation. While bears aren't the only animal that hibernate, I think that they are one of the more famous examples. Hibernation basically is when an animal enters a state of minimal activity and metabolic reduction, commonly used to pass through winter. In most cases, bears do not wake up during their hibernation and can go the entire period without eating or drinking. However, there are cases, like I said just now, where mother bears tend to give birth during hibernation in their dens. In these situations, they do awake from time to time to tend to their cubs. On a side note, bears don't really have many predators. In fact, they kinda only have one, the greatest apex predator of all time: humans. Between trophy hunting and the loss of habitat, humans have been the leading cause of bear deaths, with 6 species being listed as vulnerable, and even the 2 least concerned species, which are the brown bear and American black bear, are at risk of extirpation, basically local extinction in some areas. With that being said, there are some places where there are certain necessity to put down bears, like in Japan, where the military is being deployed to handle a certain bear situation because there was a large number of bear attacks, including 13 deaths since April 2025. In the end, there is a very thin line between the need for conservation as well as preserving potential human lives by reducing the contact risk with bears. Not an easy balance if I do say so myself. With that being said, bears are essentially the model mammal, doing everything that fits what a mammal should be doing. From characteristics to behavior, bears are pretty incredible mammals that command a level of respect few animals can replicate. Before we get into the next animal on our list, just a quick warning for all the people out there with thalassophobia. I've included each individual animal timestamp in the description, so you can just skip past this one if it makes you uncomfortable. With that out of the way, our next mammal comes from the Great Blue Ocean, with sizes ranging from somewhat small to the largest known living animal to ever exist, we are of course talking about whales. Whales are a widely distributed and diverse group of fully aquatic marine mammals, which includes whales themselves, dolphins, and porpoises, which are smaller dolphins basically. Also, just a fun fact, the closest living relative of whales is actually the hippo. Pretty funny how the closest relative of the gentlest creatures in the ocean, less dolphins and orcas of course, is one of the most hyper-aggressive animals in the entire animal kingdom. Anyways, whales are fully aquatic, meaning that they feed, mate, give birth, suckle, and raise their young all at sea. They are also incredibly diverse in terms of size, with the dwarf sperm whale coming in at about 2.5 meters long and weigh about 135 kilograms, to the literal largest known animal to ever exist, the blue whale, coming in at about 30 meters long and about 140,000 kilograms in weight. In general, there are two types of whales, baleen whales and toothed whales. Baleen whales have no teeth and instead have plates of baleen, which is basically a filter feeding system made of keratin, the same material as our human hair and nails by the way, which hangs from the upper jaw of baleen whales. It works like a sieve, which allows them to filter feed on krill and plankton. Some examples of whales which are baleen whales include arguably the two most famous ones, the humpback whale and the legendary blue whale. The second type of whale, which is the toothed whale, in contrast to the baleen whale, have conical teeth which is adapted to catching fish and squid. The greatest known example of a toothed whale is of course the sperm whale, known to dive down to great depths to hunt their favorite prey, squid. On that note, dolphins and orcas are also toothed whales, with their primary diet consisting of fish and squid, and orcas taking that even further, adding seals, sea lions, seabirds, and other whales to the menu. Despite the whale's ability to spend large amounts of time underwater, they must regularly surface to breathe air. They do this via their blowhole, which is located at the top of their heads, which air is taken in and expelled from. They are also warm-blooded and have a thick layer of fat or blubber under their skin. Another fun fact is that whales can produce a large variety of vocalizations, with the most notable one being the extended songs of the humpback whale. Similar to the bears, however, whales are heavily threatened by the greatest apex predator known as humans over any other animal. Currently, whales are protected by international law, which is a good thing, but apart from whale hunting, they also face threats from bycatch and marine pollution. On the flip side though, whale watching is a pretty popular form of tourism, and I do hope that I'll get to do it one day. In the end, whales are incredible creatures. From the small to the biggest of all time, whales are truly unique creatures, which though in some aspects is a bit strange to consider a mammal. When breaking down its characteristics, it is a mammal true and true, and a very cool one at that. The next animal on our list is yet another unique one. From the deepest depths of our ocean, we now take to the skies with bats. Bats are winged mammals and the only mammals capable of true and sustained flight, with them unironically being more agile in flight than most birds. Being the second largest order of mammals after rodents, bats comprise about 20% of all classified mammals worldwide, with at least 1,500 species. Many bats are insectivores, with the rest being frugivores or nectarivores, aka fruit eaters or nectar eaters. There are even fewer species which feed on animals other than insects. For example, the vampire bat, which feeds on the blood of animals. Most bats are nocturnal, and many of them roost in caves and sometimes in trees during the day. They can be found globally, except in the coldest regions, and are important in their ecosystem for pollinating flowers, dispersing seeds, and controlling certain insect populations. With that being said, bats do provide humans with some benefit of them being direct predators of mosquitoes, which aid in suppressing the transmission of mosquito-borne diseases. However, due to their physiology, bats are one type of animal which acts as a natural reservoir for many pathogens, including rabies, and considering the fact that they are highly mobile and social, they can rapidly spread diseases among themselves. On that note, as compared to our other friends, the bear and the whale, bats are way more susceptible to predation from other creatures other than the legendary apex beasts known as humans. These include birds of prey like owls and hawks, and other creatures like snakes, and in some cases even wild cats. So some of you might be asking yourself then, why are bats considered mammals instead of birds? Well, they are warm-blooded creatures with fur that also give birth to live young that nurse their pups with milk. This essentially makes bats the only flying mammal, with their only characteristics similar to birds being their ability to fly. All in all, bats are pretty unique creatures. Being the only mammal able to fly is pretty cool on its own, but having a species that literally sucks blood out of animals and also being directly associated with Dracula is another pretty insane feat, I would say. Also random, but baby bats are really cute. With that being said, we move. Last but not least, we can't talk about mammals without talking about the chillest one around, the capybara. Capybaras are the largest living rodents native to South America. They inhabit the savannas and dense forests and live near water. Capybaras are a highly social species and can be found in groups as large as 100 individuals, but they typically live in groups of 10 to 20. A fun fact about them is that capybaras are semi-aquatic mammals. They are incredible swimmers and can hold their breath underwater for up to 5 minutes at a time. They can also sleep underwater, keeping only their noses out. Capybaras are also herbivores, grazing mainly on grass and aquatic plants, as well as fruits and tree bark. The maximum lifespan of a capybara is 8 to 10 years, but in the wild, they usually do not live longer than 4 years because of South America's big cats, aka jaguars and cougars, as well as other predators like caiman and green anacondas. Yet again, another animal whose only adversary isn't just the raid boss humans. Granted, humans still impact them significantly via habitat loss from deforestation, as well as hunting them for their meat and hides. I do remember that there was a show I watched quite a while back where capybara was a delicacy or something. Yeah. Unfortunately, capybaras don't just have to contend with the likes of other animals, but they unwillingly engage in a 2v1 against nature and man. Despite them having a decent number of predators though, one of the greatest things about a capybara is how tolerant and calm they are to the environment around them, or how chill they are. Because of this, many animals including birds, monkeys, and even crocodilians have been seen resting on or beside capybaras. Capybaras, similar to the bears, are another model mammal, being warm-blooded, having fur, giving birth to live young, as well as nourishing them with their milk. Overall, capybaras are truly something special that nature has created. Aside from having to contend with humans, capybaras unfortunately still have a plethora of predators. Despite knowing that fact, they still maintain their very calm demeanor and just let life pass them by. You know, not trying to get philosophical here, but sometimes maybe we too should learn a little from them just to be calm and chill. They say that mammals come in all shapes and sizes, and to that, they aren't wrong. From the lands of our planet to the great big ocean to the wide open skies, mammals are everywhere, truly embracing the title of multi-talented and multifaceted. On top of all of that, we as humans share the same classification, being mammals ourselves. In some sense, it is poetic that we as a species have also conquered the land, the skies, and the ocean. But with that being said, mammals are truly a fascinating group of animals, and if you want me to talk about any other mammal, leave your suggestions in the comments. I'll get to them if there's a part 2. On that note, if you enjoyed the video, please do the usual liking and subscribing, it really does help the channel out a lot. Thank you all for always supporting the videos, and on that note, thank you for watching.